And we're back today in the Crash Lab studio with me, the man, the myth, the legend, a good friend, Mr. Eric Sprott. Long overdue.
Glad to be here. Yes, it's been a little overdue. And, of course, you would bring me in the day after Newfound Gold crashed here. But anyway, I'm ready for it. I have broad shoulders, okay?
In your darkest hour, let there be light. So, Eric, thank you for coming in. There's so much we can talk about. What should we dive right into Newfound, or
Sure.
let's
dive into Newfound. Sure.
Okay. So, what was your take on the PR? What do you think
on the press release? Okay,
yeah.
The 43-101. Well, obviously, I would have imagined in my mind it could be substantially bigger than that. But I also know, and I've spoken often about the whole 43-101 process and how, you know, when you've got high-grade nuggety gold, you really take it in the chops in terms of cutting and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they say what they say, and I'm going to imagine that the high grade was 1 million ounces just for the sake of rounding here, okay? And it was at 7 grams, and it is open pit. And I feel pretty confident that we'd probably mine that for certainly less than 2 grams. That would be $200 a ton to mine, which I can't imagine it being that. So if you can make 5 grams, you'd be making, let's say, on a $4,300 gold price, my God, you'd be making well over $3,000 per ounce mined. And if you got 1 million ounces, that's $3 billion of pre-tax profit. So I take some comfort in the fact that we all knew it would not be good. And the markets reacted the way they want to react. That's perfectly understandable. But I think we all know that this company keeps putting out stellar results. Every press release is pretty incredible what they find. We got a huge area of 106 kilometers. There haven't been many disappointments in terms of drilling. I'm sure that when we get to, hopefully we get to mine that in a bulk sample or test mining or something, that grade that we mine will be considerably above the 7.7 grams that was estimated. So we'll just have to stand by and see how it proceeds. I hope that we can somehow get a permit to start mining quickly. You might even know more about what the likelihood of that is than I do. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I hope that the new people, we have a whole new group of people, Paul Hewitt, the chairman, Keith Boyle, the CEO.
Who are awesome mine builders.
Yeah, they're incredible. And new directors, Chad Williams is on the board now. So we're going to restart things. I think there's a wonderful story in front of us. I really do. And, you know, hopefully time will prove that to be the case.
Now, it's an interesting point because I think you know, you and I have obviously talked extensively about this and about the realities of what resources would be, you know, when they get published on these types of things, particularly high-grade orogenic gold deposits. They're not, you know, the resource estimation world, as you've put, is not really geared to shine favorably on those types of things. That being said, you've bet multiple times in your life on these types of situations, like you're talking about the bulk sample, you know, outperforming possible expectations there. Let's talk about like Fosterville, because I think that one is a good example of where a deposit was over conservatively kind of guided production, et cetera, and then outperformed.
Right. Well, I mean, I have some wonderful examples of what happened at Fosterville, and I can tell you as an amateur mathematician, I can multiply width times grade and get the number of grams. And I actually took every hole, multiplied them all out, calculated an average grade and an average width, and the average grade was 65 grams, okay? That's my own little work. Now, no cutting.
Yep.
And quite frankly, when you get that many holes with that much high grade, there's really not much logic to cutting because it's not as though it's anomalous, and I think that might be the case with Newfound. Anyway, so we start mining it, and I said to or asked the people, if I said, well, what are you using as your cutoff? And the first time I asked it, they said 25 grams. And then later, maybe a month, I said, well, what cutoff are you using here today? Well, we're using 50 now. Oh, okay. And then a few months later, I asked him, well, what are you using now? He said 75. I said, that sounds really scientific. 25, 50, 75.
Right. Yeah, these are awfully round numbers.
Yeah, right. I can really think you've thought about that hard. Anyway, and of course, as it turned out, I think they did, for the first few years, mine like almost 60 plus grams of gold, which everything said it would be that. So when I look at the results that Newfound had, I think, wow, they're just staggeringly phenomenal. I think most companies would beg to have a few holes like that, whereas we probably have 200 holes like that. So it takes time to prove it out. Even in the case of Kirkland Lake that owned Fosterville, I mean, I very much recall when Kirkland already owned Fosterville and our shares probably traded at $10 a share. And I can think, man, people don't get this, how profitable this is going to be with the kind of grade that we have. And it took a long time to go from $10 to $70. It ultimately did. But it ultimately did after we reported a quarter of earnings that just blew the doors off. And I'm sure if we could get a bulk sample going, hopefully get it treated quickly, I think the same result would probably happen in Newfound.
Now, patience is something that I've learned from you over many discussions. And I've said this on the podcast before, and it's something that came up with like Pierre Lassonde. There's others, right, where we talk about conviction. And one of the things I learned from you guys with, many, many more decades of experience in this industry is that patience really is like when you invest in something, you're investing in it and you're in it for the long haul, and it could be really tough, right? Like for a younger person, we're not geared to have that patience. And I'm sure maybe a younger Eric would have been less patient, perhaps. Yeah. So like, how do you stomach what's going on in the market right now with an investment like Newfound? It's a very profound investment. Do you regret making that investment? Do you feel like, are you torn? Do you feel like these emotions of like, shit, did I overdo it here? Yeah.
It doesn't bother me. I probably own 200 different mining companies. I can't even really manage 200, and I buy them because, okay, they got X, and I think it can go to 5X or 10X. We'll just wait and see if and when that happens. And I rarely sell anything unless it's so cheap that I have to give it away, or somebody actually does pay up for it.
Yep.
And, next thing you know, some guy's writing a big fat check. So I'm and generally the portfolio does okay, so you can afford a hiccup. I mean, when I look up what my loss is on Newfound versus what my gain recently was in Discovery, that's probably up 3 or 4 times what I just lost in Newfound. So, Eric's going to be okay.
Got it.
And Eric had to be very patient in Discovery too, right? They were trying to get a permit down in Mexico, and all of a sudden, the thought was we'll never get a permit again. I think that's probably changing now. But then Tony did that transaction, which was earth-shaking, and next thing you know, everybody loves Discovery, and what was a 60-cent stock then goes to a $2 stock. So
yeah, which is crazy. Yeah. The market, whether it be the analyst circuit or retail, tends to grip onto pure ounce counts. They hang up deposits on, well, it's this market cap and it has this millions of ounces. And, this is something that you and I talk about, but maybe for the benefit of the listener that hasn't heard it before. You want to try to tackle that one?
Sure. Well, I've always said it's about the grade, okay? Because the profit margin on an open pit at 7 grams is probably 5 grams. The profit margin on a 1 gram ore body, maybe it's a half a gram. So this is 10 times more profitable per ounce versus a 1 gram ore body. And of course, with a 1 gram ore body, typically you got a lot of capex too to get a 1 gram ore body to make economic sense. Whereas you don't need huge development to make a high grade thing with a decline, go do some underground mining, and away you go. And as I said, I think the grade's going to be higher than the 7.7 grams when they mine it. So it's going to be highly profitable.
And multiples of more profitability too. That's something
that's the whole point, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like it's 10 times more profitable than a 1 gram ore body.
Right.
And that's an easy call.
So how come you think it's so difficult for people to to fold that into their batter when they're trying to appraise things?
Well, maybe they don't hear much about it. You know, you go to some of the chat lines, and there's a lot of newfound chat on the various chat lines. I think it's orchestrated, quite frankly. So, you know, that someday this is going to go away, and it's going to go away because all these gold stocks are going to go crazy. I mean, and it's not as though there aren't hundreds of gold stocks that are ridiculously undervalued today. I mean, ridiculously undervalued, where I can sit and look at the thing, oh my God, that could be trading at, 1.5 times cash flow 6 months from now. And it is trading at 1.5 times cash flow 6 months from now. Nobody's doing anything about it. I mean, I try to stay in there and press a bet, but there's so many stocks. Like, I wouldn't even buy a stock at, 0.2 times NAV because I think I can find it at 0.1 times NAV. Lots of them.
Yeah.
So the market just hasn't adapted. Nobody's really into to precious metals much yet. My own view is the stock market's probably going to trade down here. I think we'll go into a bear market. People are now finding it difficult to find an area that they can be comfortable in. Mag 7's not working. I'd rather suspect AI is not going to work like people imagined it. The whole market starts giving it up. And of course, what's the best performing group in the first quarter? Oh, precious metals, funny thing. Why is nobody investing in it? And you can almost sense that nobody is investing in the stocks yet.
Yeah, there has been an influx of these bot deals happening in the last week or so. But you're absolutely right. It's nowhere close. And we see it on the message boards too, right? With CEO.ca, and we can track the volume of messages and the engagement and how many people are in there. And you see the trends. And so the trends are up for sure. There's more people in it than before. Sure. But not bull market levels.
Not aggressive, yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I think is missing when people look at gold and silver equities, and I love the work, for example, that a guy named Don Durrett does, because Don Durrett says, look, gold's going to $4,000. At $4,000, this is a 25 bagger. Now, where do you get a 25 bagger? And it just shows you how important the price is too, right? I mean, it's three most important things in mining are: one is the ore body, two is the price, and in my mind, third is management. Poor management can't do anything with a lousy ore body, but they can do well if the price goes up.
Now, are assets management proof?
Well, I would, at these prices, they're almost management proof. Yeah, at these prices, pretty well everything works. Hard to imagine anybody who wouldn't make money at $3,000 gold and in Canadian $4,300 Canadian. It's hard to imagine you couldn't make money. And one of the other things that I think is important today, and I do this constantly when I'm buying particularly silver stocks, the guy said, well, it's trading at 0.2 times NAV, and Eric's thinking, well, yeah, but what happens when the price of silver goes to 50 and then 100? How much is that going to go up by? And because I'm an investor, I want to know the upside. That's what I'm buying, right? I'm trying to buy upside.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for downside. I want to see how much money can I make by buying this thing.
Yeah, you're not buying yesterday's news.
No.
You're
buying the future. And imagine if I would have said 2 years ago, oh yeah, no, I'm buying gold stocks because I think I'd go to $3,000. It'd laugh me out of the room.
Right.
Well, here we are. And if you would have bought it on the basis that it was going to go higher for reasons you saw already, fine, you get your payday, and a significant payday at that. Although there's a lot more to come. I think there's more to come than we've received already.
Yeah, the future is brighter than what's been. Yeah. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about your views on silver. Why should silver be? Why is silver the big bet right now?
Sure.
For Eric.
Well, first of all, I am a great believer in the manipulation of markets, particularly precious metals markets. And we've seen lots of guys pay big fines for spoofing and messing around and doing this. And I think as we look now back at gold, it went to 2,000. This is the fourth time, went through, boom, 3,000. I think we broke the back of the manipulators, okay? Because the demand for gold, this physical gold, overwhelmed the paper guys, okay? And I think they probably realized it. I think silver's been manipulated for at least 50 years. Same thing. And now we've got these, we got shorts on the COMEX for 850 million ounces now. Like, it's almost obscene that someone would think that was a smart bet when you look at all the data about the demand for silver for the various industries. And one of them that's really come to light, I saw a presentation by a gentleman from McKinsey, and he's looking at the developments in the car market in China where, you know, they're suggesting they can get an electric vehicle that can go 1,000 kilometers, and when you refill the battery, it takes 5 minutes. Well, voila, that's going to solve the concerns we had, you know, a year ago about electric vehicles, which there were many concerns about it. But I think the outlook for all the metals that have anything to do with the batteries in cars and storage batteries, storage batteries. Sorry?
Solar.
Yes. Oh, well, solar, yeah.
The panels work like 40 or 50% better with silver instead of copper or something.
Of course,
like it's insane.
Like it's massive. We got a $200 million shortfall roughly every year for the last 4 years. We're going to have another one this year. Like, where's this stuff coming from, folks?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because in the past, silver, you know, I'll take it at face value that it's been manipulated in the past, and there's a great and growing disparity between where silver should be in tandem with gold. But for the first time, I think there's a real industrial application for silver. It's not just a financial metal now. It's in the past, in past cycles it was, and maybe I'm wrong on that, but I feel like for now the industrial demand is the new ingredient. And I asked you this, you know, maybe last week or whatever, or a few weeks ago, and was like, you know, do you think that the two things can coexist? Do you think it can be a financial metal and a
Well, there's not room for everybody. We know that. There isn't. Right. I mean, somebody's going to have to say to the investors, you know, you can't invest. And there's some strange things going on in silver. You've seen the flow of silver from London to New York. We see the open interest in how much demand there's at almost every expiry. I think the last expiry for silver, there's like 75 million ounces delivered. Well, 75 million, that's about what we produce in a month. Well, we can't have COMEX taking 100% of the silver production in the world. So there's a lot, and I think the key reason to think there's a great outlook for silver, it's priced at 90 to 1 to the price of gold, but it's produced at 8 to 1. And when it was a legitimate currency, both gold and silver, it traded at 15 to 1. And I have no doubt it's going to trade at 15 to 1 again. And that means that at $3,000 gold, silver should go to 200. And it sounds ridiculous to say it, but it should trade at 15 to 1 when it's being bought 8 to 1.
Wow. Especially if it has an industrial demand base that you're suddenly injecting into it.
Which can't fit in there. It just will not
it
be
doesn't
able to
fit
in.
No. Right. Yeah. It's insane.
Yeah.
So let's go back to sort of your investing process, because this is one of the things that has always struck me in our conversations. And for maybe the outsiders looking in, and you mentioned it before, you own a lot of deals. But I don't think for our listeners, and I'm not just saying this to blow smoke up your ass, Eric, you do more homework on your investments than I think I've ever seen anybody do. You literally don't rely on a huge network of advisors. You have people that you ask very specific questions to from time to time.
Yeah.
But by and large, you go through this stuff like way in detail, whether it's newfound gold or, you know, in my experience with you at least, or other stories that we talk about. Like, you get right in there and you read academic papers, all of this. What else do you consume? Like,
well, of course, when it's meeting a company, there aren't too many critical things to give you the macro sizing. Okay, what are your resources? Then one of my favorite, well, how big do you think it can get? Knowing full well, he'll probably say it's 5 or 10 times bigger. And I got to discount that and figure it out or ask him why he thinks that. But once you know kind of what resource he has, and then you can maybe figure out the timing of when it could possibly come into production, which is not an easy thing to do because of the jurisdictional problems and all that. And then, of course, in my mind, I'm saying, okay, well, let's see, if that guy could produce 100,000 ounces of gold, he can make $200 million. Wow. What's his market cap? 72. Oh, that's a pretty good deal. He can make 3 times what the market cap is today if and when it comes together, let's say 5 years from now. I don't mind. I can wait the 5 years. Look what my payoff's going to be.
See, and that's it. That's the patience.
Yeah.
In there.
Yeah.
That's the I call
Probably
it the
very
sea
few
turtle.
people would think like that, right?
100%.
But the guy's going to make $200 million 5 years from now. He might trade at $1 billion.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, his market cap's $25 million today. Like, that's a big payout.
It's insane. Yeah. Well, I mean, I love that. And the other thing is too. So one of the things that we're both aligned on is like public sentiment, social media. Obviously, you're a big investor here with Earth Labs, and we own CEO.ca and multiple publications. And I remember you were pretty happy, like when we ended up buying CEO.ca because you used it quite a bit.
Yeah.
So what kind of, for many people that don't know, yes, Eric does read these message boards.
Yes, of course. Extensively. Well, I can't read it on 200 companies, okay?
Of course.
But I'll take, whatever my top 5 or 10 at the time are and study them. And it's like when you read anything from someone in my position, I'm hoping I get one tidbit of information that I didn't otherwise have. That somebody said something about an ore body that I otherwise didn't know, or maybe somebody writes about one of my companies, gee, they have some antimony in there that they've never been paid for before. Oh, okay. That's a good thing to know. I didn't know they had antimony. Of course, the price of antimony's gone crazy here, and I could do the math and see what the change might be if they finally get paid for the thing, that sort of thing. So you never know what you're going to come across reading a chat line, because you got a lot of disparate views there.
Sure.
And you might, in fact, learn some of the negatives by going to a chat line. Some guy had a bad history that I didn't know about.
But nonetheless, an important piece of your
Sure.
of your process.
Every day, many times, CEO.ca, many times. Not as many times as I go to Kitco
Oh yeah.
to check the price of gold.
Oh, okay. I was like, damn it.
Not for information, not for that kind of information. No, I want the better information on CEO.ca for sure. Yes.
Yeah, and that's where you find the nuggets. I too. I was, it was an integral piece of my workflow. Anytime I learned of a company, an idea, or somebody would come in, one of the first places I check is CEO.ca. I go through all the comments and just to see what's in there.
I go to
a lot of it's shit, but
I
a lot of it's
go to the website, pull up the presentation. It doesn't take long to go through a presentation, particularly when I don't understand the geology anyway. Sounds like a funny thing to say.
Which you do, but anyway, you say you don't, but you do.
And then, having thought, okay, this looks pretty good. Well, maybe I should go and check the website, CEO.ca website, see what people are saying about it. And you get a few guys saying, yeah, this should be a 20 bagger for sure. Okay, well, that's kind of what I was thinking too. So at least somebody else has done some work to come up with that sort of thing, and it's encouraging. One of the great things I like about any stock when I buy it is that no broker follows it. I prefer there's no broker following it.
Really?
Yeah, because they will come. They haven't come yet. They haven't looked at it.
You like the back pocket mixtape.
Well,
You like the
What do I want a whole bunch of analysts that have already recommended as a buy?
Right.
There can't be much left in it for Eric. So,
Right. Fair enough.
yeah, because I can do my own research. That's not a problem.
Of course.
So,
Well, that's an interesting thing. How do you get a measure if the broker's behind it? I mean, in short of.
well, there are the research reports, right?
Yeah.
If there's no research reports, nobody's really following it hard. Maybe some guy's thinking about it, but he hasn't put pencil to paper. So
I used to get the question all the time. Road showing, people would ask, "Are you covered by anybody?"
yeah,
And I guess I've always thought of that like, well, where can I find more information about you? But maybe they're asking me for that reason, which is.
yeah, I'm not so sure they'd be asking for the reason that they prefer nobody covering you. That just comes from my historical experience, right?
Right.
I don't want 5 brokers all screaming it's a buy when I'm thinking I've just uncovered something. I guess I'm a little late to the party here.
Now, you've uncovered a few things recently that are a little bit abnormal, we'll say, in Eric's investing snack bracket. Let's talk about those. What are some kind of oddball things that you're involved in that you think that you're ahead of it on?
One of them is manganese monosulfate. And I've talked to a lot of people in the mining business. Tell me what you know about manganese monosulfate. Nobody knows anything.
Self included.
Nobody knows anything, okay?
Yep.
I don't know anything. I just know that what it trades for, what it's used in the electric batteries, solid-state batteries. It's a big part of the battery, by the way, and it looks like it's going to be in the winning chemical formulation for batteries, LMFP, lithium, manganese, ferro, something, I guess, and phosphates.
That's the new Samsung battery that's going to charge in 10 seconds. And
the BYD battery, right?
Right.
BYD in China, who came out and said, we have a whole new battery thing going on here. And, you know, they're the dominant seller of electric vehicles now, BYD. And I think Tesla's number 7 in sales of electric vehicles today. Mm-hmm. And these Chinese companies are just going to beat the band. So I'm interested in manganese monosulfate. I own some decent percentages in a couple of the companies. I own about 30% of Aftermath. I own probably over 20+% of Manganese X Energy. I just bought some Euro Manganese, maybe 10 or 15%. But it's an area that I actually would like to see more expertise. And I've watched a few podcasts of guys who know about manganese monosulfate. Mm-hmm. But you don't get much company yet sort of pushing you forward, saying you got to get it. And I don't see anybody much buying into anything in Canada yet either.
Well, what's nice with that Aftermath, too, is that it also has that silver kicker for whatever that's worth.
Well, they say silver is 25% of the value of 25% of the ore, and they say we have 140 million ounces of resource. And Eric, quick calculation, well, that would mean then that you got 520 million equivalent ounces of silver if the other 75% carry the same thing.
Sure.
And I could just, and by the way, they used a very low price on manganese monosulfate when they made that calculation. It could be way higher than that. So that's the kind of thing that intrigues me when the numbers, the mathematical analysis says, oh my God, this can go a long way. So
that's pretty neat.
Keeps it fun.
That is a fun one. I've been following that with you as you were kind of learning about this space and getting into it and reading about it and speaking to experts about it. And it's fascinating to me. Obviously, it would be cool to get at some point somebody that's an expert in that space and that battery tech on the pod and discuss it with them.
I've spoken to a few guys. There's about 3 guys in the world that know something about it. I think I've spoken to 2 of them. And sooner or later, they will get some audience here in Canada and North America, for that matter. So,
what do you make of this political turmoil we're going through right now with the tariffs and stuff like that? What do you think's gonna? How do you think this is going to shake out?
I regard it as a huge problem. It's nothing but losers. Okay, nothing but losers, and it's not going to be good for the stock market for sure. It's not going to be good for Canada for sure. It's not going to be good for anybody. It's not.
Right.
And
do you think it could tear down? Like, if the market tanks, do you think it'll tear down all the golds and the rest of it down with it?
No.
In the short term?
No, I do not believe that. And we see that even now, okay? So in this quarter, I don't know what the S&P has gone down by, but let's say it's gone down by 10%, and gold stocks have gone up by 25. Well, there's a 35% difference right there, and you can feel the interest in gold and silver. And I think the more that market comes under pressure, stock market, the more people have to find a place to put some winning bets. And so far, it's been gold and silver. And, of course, everything we see for the prices suggests that will continue. And I've said many times before, I mean, I really rely on Oliver, MSA Security. He's Michael Oliver. And he's the guy that I think's had it nailed the most for both precious metals and the market. And the market was a little delayed. He thought it would have gone down quite a while ago. But it's sort of matching up with what he expected, and I think he's expecting a rather sizable decline given time. And, of course, he also believes there'll be a huge rally for gold and silver. And, he's posited that gold could get to 8,000. He's posited that silver could get to whatever, a couple of $100. And that would be the theory that I buy into. I think the theory holds together.
Now, you're a proud Canadian, and you've done a lot of great philanthropy things in Canada. and you continue to do that. What do you think Canada needs to do to fully embrace its resource industry? What do you think sits in the way right now?
Well, of course, a lot of things sit in the way. The fact that we held the whole industry in disdain almost, right? That these guys are just toxic to the environment. And unfortunately, there were many incidences of that. But, you know, the world should feel somewhat comfortable that there's one hell of a process these companies got to go through, and ongoing examinations by governmental authorities
Right.
to run something. So it's not as though they're just wild ass crazy here.
It's heavily regulated.
Heavily regulated, and everything takes too long. We all know it takes too long. And it's good to see that some levels of government are finally saying, you know what, this is an important industry. We should get a little more, come in and support it. And I think things are going to happen much faster now, particularly if, let's say, the stock market goes, and this might be partially your savior. We have all these assets in our country that can be developed. Mm-hmm. You know, you got to go to where you can create money for the government and the people and the employees and the shareholders. So you can sense that they're starting to lean in a little and take mining more seriously.
Mm. Do you think that there's something that we can do to shorten the time it takes to go from discovery to production?
Well, I wouldn't be a good expert on that. I don't know why it takes so long. You know, does it just get held up because
like in your life you must have seen it grow?
Because we don't want to work on Mondays and Fridays anymore, and therefore,
Right.
okay, we had 40% less work week. That would be a good cause of things slowing down.
Sure.
Or we don't want to work hard this week. I'm talking about the governmental people, and so things don't happen well. We're going to send this off to have somebody study it, and then we'll get the results back from the study, and then anyway, it's just it's an environment that's not conducive to being productive.
Big election on the rise. Do you want to get political or not? Would you prefer
No,
not?
I'm totally non-political. I'm not.
Okay.
Period. In Canada.
Leave it there.
Here's what I think about politics. It's more important as an investor for us to understand U.S. politics
Sure.
than Canadian politics.
Yeah, that's
Because
parallel.
what they do down there, and we're the tail that's wagged by the dog here, okay? Mm-hmm. So you got to keep abreast of what's happening down there. And, I think, Trump looks like he would be happy to have, let's say, big ore bodies developed that have been hung up for a long, long time. So we'll see. I think the tide is turning somewhat.
I think so too. I think it's funny enough. I saw a report that the EU had put forward yesterday or the day before. So basically, Brussels is giving a mandate to European countries like Spain and like France that, hey, listen, time for you guys to put some of your critical metals and minerals and get mining again.
Totally.
And for Brussels to be sending that message to
a big sea change, right?
Right, huge,
serious sea change.
Yeah, and that's very public.
Yeah,
right.
I just had a situation where was it Czechoslovakia or Croatia where they just said there's an ore body that was owned by Manganese. We're deeming it a special interest project. Okay, that's a little different. So I'm glad to see
it's a different tone, right?
That sort of thing happen, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's a different tone, and it's very encouraging. Well, I mean, I think we started with Newfound. I want to end it with Newfound. I looked at the resource from what I can see so far, and we haven't seen the full documentation. I think that because we got your views, I don't think I shared mine, which I think I should. Which I think. The capping is I've left to see what influence that's had, and I'd like to see the sensitivities to capping. So hopefully when the report comes out, we'll see what that's like. I tend to look at it as there's been very large volumes of rock that encapsulated a lot of values there, whether it be a blend of high grade and lower grade values. And I think that the higher grade becomes more of an outlier the larger a volume you enclose it within. And so that would push the capping level down, which would increase the conservatism, right? Let's say. Yeah. But like you said, there's a million good ounces there of 7 gram material
Right.
that is unbelievably impressive. Yeah. I think it comes with the turf that with high grade orogenic deposits over a big footprint like this, which is a huge footprint.
Right.
When you drill it down a couple 100 meters, you could look at the number of dollars spent and the number of meters drilled. I mean, that comes with the turf with orogenic deposits. If you're drilling a porphyry, you could spend way less meters and get way more tonnage de-risked, particularly a homogeneously distributed ore body.
Right.
So none of it's really a big shock to me, I should say. That being said, I think it's very, very interesting, and I like that it's done. I like that the Band-Aid's ripped off, so to speak, and that we can focus on there's mine builders in charge.
Forward, yeah.
And as you said, the inflection point is on bulk sample and production.
And these guys want to develop the mine, and they will be very successful developing. They're used to orogenic, high grade. They know full well, as you do, Denny, that it's only down to 200 meters, okay?
Yeah.
It could go easily to 2 kilometers.
Yeah, we've got high grade down at 8.
We're seeing the tip of the iceberg here, okay?
100%.
Big iceberg. So it'll prove up.
So investors getting nervous right now, looking at their stock price going, shit, we're there with you. What's your message to them?
Be patient.
Be patient.
Yeah. It's funny. It's when I think of the loss that I've incurred, it doesn't bother me much because, of course, I've had some great wins and I can easily deal with it. And yet I would never consider selling it here. I mean, just think there's way too... Look at the results they keep coming out with in so many parts of that north Newfound Gold, the Appleton Fault part. Oh, my God, it's incredible.
Yeah, Queensway North,
Queensway North, yeah. Wow. We got the whole south, too.
And even on the lab ground now.
Yeah, the lab ground, right, which is quite a few kilometers away, right?
Yeah, 9.
Yeah.
So that's 13 kilometers.
Loaded with promise, okay?
Yeah.
Loaded. So.
Yeah. My sentiments exactly. I think it's an unbelievable deposit. I've never seen high grade gold like that in my life, and I've worked in some of the highest grade gold mines in the world.
All right.
So, for whatever that's worth,
we'll have to right the ship.
We'll have to right the ship.
Give us a little time.
Yep. That's it. That's all. Well, that's it. We're done. Thank you very much. Thank you, Eric, for coming in. Love to have you back.
Okay, Denny.
Chat. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Cheers.
All the best.
Yep.